Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Andy from Mission Motorsport here. Before I get into the details and the format of the next 40 minutes, can I just have a thumbs up from someone to say you can hear me loud and clear, and you can also see the National Transition Event slide on your... Yep, I've got a thumbs up. I've got a couple of thumbs up. Thank you ever so much. I'll just give it a couple of minutes whilst we've got a few stragglers joining, and then we'll start good and proper. Right, I think we'll get going. So thank you. We've got about 30 people on the call, which is fantastic. And thank you everyone for joining on this Tuesday evening. Here in the studio, actually it's not, it's the Porter cabin. I've got Mark, the ops manager, and myself, Andy Brown, the chief operating officer. And also online joining us from a position far more glamorous is Laura Westrope, who's our community engagement manager. We'd like to welcome you all, firstly, to this webinar, but also to welcome you and thank you for volunteering to support what is going to be a tremendous event next week at the National Transition Event 2024. What I'd like to do in the next, I reckon, about 40 minutes or so, is to take you on a journey through the National Transition Event for this year, assuming no knowledge. Now, I know a number of you have helped us before, indeed at this event this time last year and before. I know a number of you have been great volunteers with Mission Motorsport in previous events and previous years, but also in our audience, we do have a number of newbies, new volunteers to the charity and new volunteers to the National Transition Event, which is great because we say all along, we can't deliver these events without the help of our volunteers. And given that we have ambitions to scale up on a number of these events, the bigger, the better these events get, the more help we need from our volunteer audience. So thank you, thank you, thank you. What I'd like to do is just take you through basically the who, what, where, when and how to make sure we're all briefed, equipped, informed and ready to kick off things on Sunday nights for those who can join us on Sunday with the setup, and certainly on Monday morning for the main event. We are recording this and we will share this recording with everyone straight afterwards, later tonight, maybe tomorrow, along with a few other bits and pieces, which we'll cover in a second. What we'll do is, as I say, take you through all the events, all the activities in enough detail to give you that information. If you have any questions as we go through, by all means make a note, but if you could just wait until the end and then put them in the chat, we will do our best to answer them tonight. If we don't have the answer or we just need clarity, we will get back to you in the next 24 hours with hopefully a suitable answer. So without further ado, let me just introduce this year's National Transition Event. It's now our 5th year of running this event. We promised last year it would be bigger, better and brighter, and we achieved that. This year, we promise it's going to be even bigger and even better and even brighter. We are expecting well over 1,000 service leavers, veterans and spouses to attend this year. In fact, we reckon we'll be going to be near enough 1,500 plus when you add up all the exhibitors, all the organisations, all the attendees, all the volunteers. We reckon it's going to be the biggest gathering of service leavers and veterans in the UK on an annual basis. So we can be proud of that, and you can be proud of that being associated with this event. Last year we had over 120 exhibitors, which included military charities, government agencies, businesses, organisations. This year, we know for a fact we have got over 170 exhibitors, service charities, agencies, and veterans in business. So phenomenal effort by the team, phenomenal effort by the organisations who are all leaning into this. We've got the MOD coming along. We've got the Office for Veterans Affairs, and fingers crossed we will have the Minister for Veterans Affairs, Johnny Mercer, turn up and stay for not just a fleeting visit, but for a good chunk of time. We have Andrea Leadsom, who's the MP for Northamptonshire, coming along, and various other agencies. And for those who are new to the National Transition Event, we can't stress enough, and we stress every year, it's not about jobs. It's not a jobs fair. It's not a recruitment fair. It's a transition event, which is why we've been very strict about recruitment organisations not coming along, and also very strict about organisations not bringing their recruitment teams. What we really want to see is organisations bringing their veterans to talk to veterans and service leavers in the language that veterans and service leavers understand, and give them warts and all about what it's like to transition out of the military from a personal perspective, and what it's like to work for their organisation from a veterans perspective. So that's, I think, the game changer for us and the game changer for this event. My computer's just frozen for a second, so let me just catch up. That's Silverstone. That was taken this time last year, and we were there on Monday on our final rehearsal, and the weather was pretty similar. Can't guarantee it for next Monday. But what is the National Transition Event about? And you see our logos on the bottom there, and some of you may have spotted a relatively new logo. It is a combined effort between Mission Motorsport in association with Mission Community, which is a newly formed sector initiatives programme. And I'll just briefly pause and talk to you about what that is, so that you're aware of the change that is happening amongst us right here, right now, and we've been working on over the last couple of months with particularly Mission Community. You see, we still retain Mission Motorsport as the core Forces Motorsport charity, and nothing around that changes around Race, Retrain, Recover. We are expanding the offering that started with Mission Automotive and Mission Renewable along the timeline you can see there, and grouping it under a title called Mission Community, which is championing the armed forces. It's a collection of already established armed forces engagement initiatives, such as the Renewable UK's Mission Renewable, SMMT's Mission Automotive, and it's also looking to develop new ones, such as Mission Manufacturing, supported by the Manufacturing Technology Association and Manufacturing Technology Centre. And we're using this year's National Transition Event to showcase these sector initiatives, and also looking to add a few more, focusing on manufacturing this year, but also things like technology, cyber, artificial intelligence, and of course, all this is underpinned by the Troops Track Day, which is, I think, our pièce de résistance and our USP. So that's a little bit about Mission Community, so you can understand the context of what we're trying to achieve. In terms of what this year's National Transition Event is about, the overarching aim of the event is to equip the armed forces community with the tools, the knowledge, and the connections to the opportunities that are available in order to enable them to have a successful transition. That's what we're all pulling in the same direction to achieve. It's about bringing the community together, and that's the community of businesses, of organisations, of support networks, of support charities, together with the armed forces community, the veterans, the service leavers, and indeed their spouses. That's what we're hoping to achieve at this year's NTE. I must point out our headline sponsor, AWE, have lent in and become what we call our platinum sponsor, and I'll talk a little bit about sponsors in a second. But our target audiences, just to remind people and to point out who our focus is, or what our focus is for the National Transition Event. Attendees, it goes without saying, service leavers and veterans, whether they are job seeking or simply veteran advocates. And I said we are expecting well over 1,000. We're expecting near 1,500 veterans and service leavers to come along to this year's NTE. We've got over 170 exhibitors. And as I said, we are asking them to bring their veterans along, not their HR teams, not their recruitment teams. There's currently over 420 people signed up with exhibitors to come along, and we are tracking how many of those are veterans, so we can report on that as well. I said already, we have the MOD coming along, we have Vets UK coming along, we have the Career Transition Partnership coming along, and we have the Office of Veterans Affairs. We have something called the Gold Award Association, which is all those organisations who have been recognised as a Gold Award winners under the Employer Recognition Scheme, which is run by the MOD and Defence Relationship Management. In fact, they're holding a meeting, an annual meeting at the NTE this year as a sidebar, using the occasion to bring all those Gold Award winners together. We've got our track day enablers. We are still pushing. We've got 75 plus, growing 80 plus drivers and some really special cars coming along who've offered up their time in their cars to do the track rides and the passenger rides. We've got our sponsors. We've got a collection of bronze, silver, gold and platinum sponsors that help make this event work, because unlike other events where we have a sponsor who buy the track time, this event costs us as a charity, and thus a lot of sponsors lean in and help us out. And rather special this year, and rather intriguing, we are taking the lead and stealing a march on the Americans, so much so that the US Department of Defense have caught wind of this and are coming along to see what it's all about. And their Veterans Affairs staff are having a special visit, coming along, I think arriving on Sunday and leaving on Tuesday, specifically to come along and see what it is that makes this event so special and take some learnings back to America to see what they can do for their veterans audience. That is not insignificant, given what we all know happens in the US and how they look after their veterans in such a very different way to what we're trying to achieve. And what we're trying to achieve as a country is making the UK the best place for veterans. So that is quite significant in terms of their interest. Media-wise, Forces News is coming along, BBC Northampton's coming along, BFBS will be there. And we do have now a dedicated member of staff who is the point of contact for all media. And we'll talk about this a bit more detail on the day in case there are any approaches or indeed you want to get involved in that. And I've said already, there's a lot of political interest, notwithstanding anything else that suddenly grabs the headlines or calls people back to Parliament. We have Johnny Mercer coming along as the Minister for Veterans Affairs, and we also have Dame Andrea Leadsom, who's the MP for Northampton, coming along with a real interest on families, on spouses, on employment. So that's obviously caught the eye of Westminster. Looking briefly at our headline sponsors, and I don't expect you to really pay too much attention other than the fact we have a layer of sponsors from bronze through to silver, through to gold, through to platinum. And platinum, our one platinum sponsor right in the middle there is AWE. And you can see the rest, depending on the size of the font, depends on how much money they're paid in, but all great contributors to making this event happen. In terms of attendance from organisations, here's a quick list or quick show of the kind of organisations you can expect to see represented across the halls, and I'll give you a run through later of what that looks like in terms of where we'll find not necessarily every organisation, but where we've broken down the 3 halls that are in the wing. And don't worry, if you're wondering what the wing looks like, I've got a couple of pictures which we'll show you in a second. Why do we do this? Why do we do the National Transition event? I'll let you read them in your own time, and you can then perhaps revisit them as part of the recording. But that's what we're up against. The census of 2021 was the first time that people were asked to declare whether they had military service or not. And it discovered that there were over 1.8 million people in England and Wales who reported they had previously served in the UK Armed Forces. And as you can see, of those 1.8 million, nearly half of them are of the working age, i.e. under 65 years old. That's a huge workforce that is either in employment or seeking employment or any stage looking for alternative employment. And that's what we're trying to channel, along with service leavers, around 13,000. In fact, I was told this week the numbers are going up to near 14,000. That's a separate issue in terms of why people are leaving the armed forces, which I won't entertain here. But that's a huge captive audience that organisations, you can see there, are really keen to reach out to and look at employment opportunities. And we're trying to join the dots between the two. That's what the National Transition event is trying to do. Not necessarily a problem we're trying to solve on our own, but just trying to join the dots between the two. This has reached so much attention in Westminster that last year they produced an employer's guide to hiring veterans. It's all available online, it's all open source, but a fantastic document that makes it easier for organisations to reach out to that veteran and service leaver community with a guide there that hopefully steers them and helps them, alongside the sector initiatives, alongside the employer engagement initiatives that we're working towards and supporting. That's enough about background, and it's probably enough from me for the time being. I'm just going to let Mark now just introduce the team and give you a quick overview of who you're going to meet if you haven't met some of us before, who we are, and some of the key people who will be helping you to help us over the course of the couple of days of the National Transition event.
Good evening, everybody. So I will start from the left. So you've got myself there, Mark White. I'm the operations manager, and I will be your point of contact for those of you that are arriving on Sunday and all of you on Monday. So I'm pretty much going to be the volunteer manager. So any easy questions, please come to me. And if I struggle a little bit, I will probably go and find Andy in the middle there. Andy's our Chief Operating Officer. And next to Andy on the right-hand side is Laura Westrope. Laura is our Community Engagement Manager, and she is pretty much the face of the beneficiaries. Next slide, please, sir. So here we have Rachel on the left-hand side. Rachel Hale, she's our accounts administrator. Rachel will be manning the Mission Motorsport stand and selling our merchandise. Also on that stand will probably be Jill Baines. Jill is our head of grants, donations and sponsorship, and working very closely with Charlotte there on the right-hand side. They'll be doing some fundraising for us on the big day. On the left, Lee Winston, he is our livery manager. Lee will have a vehicle in Hall 1, and he will be demonstrating how you wrap vehicles. So he'll be doing a live show, and a few of you will be helping Lee on that stand. Next to Lee is Aston, who will be situated next to Lee on the day. Aston's our workshop and technical training manager. So he's all things vehicles, and he'll be there with Alan. Alan is not a Mission Motorsport employee. He contracts for us from time to time. And Alan is the guy who we turn to for training. We'll get him in when Aston is too busy with vehicle stuff. Alan will come in and deliver some training. So let me try and give you a bit of a flavour for the tasks and the roles that we have on the day. So we'll have event makers. These guys will be placed all around the events, offering some information, some direction to the attendees. Fundraisers helping out Jill and Charlotte. We've got some podium tours. We've also got a couple of exciting things on the Mission Motorsport stand to raise some money. We'll have people on the registration desks, both for exhibitors and attendees. People helping Rachel with merchandise. We all need feeding and drinking, so we have some refreshments available to you, and we'll have a couple of people helping out with that. And we have 4 big halls. So we've got the automotive hall, Hall 3, we'll have keynote speaker and registration on the mezzanine above. With Motorsport UK, they've got some simulators, and there's also a help desk. Hall 2 is our renewables hall. There'll be hosts and ushers in there, military charities and military and business in Hall 1. And we will also have some attendee ushers for attending briefings, so for the attendee briefings. So with, close to, well, definitely over 1,000 people in attendance, we'll be delivering attendee briefings from 8:30 till 13:30 on the hour, but every half hour. So 8:30, 9:30, 10:30. In the pit lane, we've got lots of activity. We've got passenger loading, passenger unloading, helmet issue and collection. Some of our people will be struggling to get in and out of the cars. We also need to be careful with the cars themselves. So if people have got walking sticks or wheelchairs, we just need to be careful that the people that we're loading, we're careful with, and we don't want to damage anybody's car. And also, if you see anybody wandering around with a pit lane with a helmet in their hands and they're not heading towards a car, we need to make sure we get that back. Right down the end of the pit lane, we're going to have our executive and VIP passenger rides. There will be a selection of you helping out down there, the similar sort of thing, loading and unloading people into the cars. We've got parking control on both sides of the venue, so the hotel side and the paddock side. We've also got a few event photographers signed up. I think we have 4 or 5. And we've also got the livery and the training stand with Lee and Aston where we need some help. After this webinar, probably tomorrow and the remainder of the week, I will be emailing you all individually with the tasks that we've assigned to you. There's no guarantees this won't actually change on the day, but I will do my very best to, well, I will get in touch with all of you and I'll give you a brief description of the team leader. The team leader might be a member of staff, could be another volunteer, but also the roles and responsibilities that you've been asked to do on the day.
Great. Mark, do you want to, that's fantastic. Do you want to just tell us quickly how we get there?
Absolutely. So on Sunday, for those of you that are very kindly helping us on Sunday, ignore the AA signs that are laid out. They're for Monday. So you'll come into Silverstone off probably, I forget the name of the road, but you'll come in towards Silverstone and you'll come across 2 roundabouts and then you'll turn left towards the main entrance. We've got access from 4 p.m. on Sunday. Once you enter the circuit, you'll go across 2 bridges and then you'll turn right and follow the signs for the wing. If you head up into, I think, well, it's level 3 between halls 3 and 4, and you'll find the media cafe where we'll do an arrivals brief for you guys. We'll get you registered and indemnified. On the Monday, you'll come in via a different access. So you won't take the 2nd roundabout on the left. You'll keep going to the 3rd roundabout, and that you'll also have the AA signs laid out to follow. I think it's the south entrance, and that from there you'll be directed by the gate guard round to the wing. It's all signposted once you enter the circuit.
So I think the key message there is those helping out on Sunday coming via the main entrance do not follow the AA signs that we put up ready for Monday. And then everyone on Monday, whether you've arrived on Sunday or not, arrive via the south entrance and follow the, as it says there, the NTE exhibitors sign, which will get you to the wing. Yep.
Thank you. So the image you're looking at now is an aerial view of the paddock side of the wing. You'll see the dotted line with an arrowhead at the end, right by the volunteer and staff parking. So if we can please get there, queued up at the gate for 7 a.m. on the Monday. On arrival, you'll be met by Nigel Carr. He is our Chief Car Parking Extraordinaire. He will direct you to the left-hand side of the road where our volunteer and staff parking is. For those of you that are on car parking duties, you'll also be asked to direct people to the exhibitors parking, which you can just see the cursor hovering over, and that's on the far side of the paddock up against the fence line. Next to that, you've got the VIP and disabled car parking. That's as close as we can get to the halls. It's quite a short walk across the pan there. Further to the left, we've got the track car trailer parking and the track car parking. It's really important. It's really important that the track car trailer parking is also where any support vehicles or tow vehicles park. Track car parking is only for those vehicles heading out onto the circuit. Once the garage doors gets open, the cars will enter the garages. What we can't do is have them parking in front of the garage, because when they exit the circuit, they won't be able to rejoin through the garage.
Okay, that's a quick orientation how to get there. As we said, main entrance on the Sunday, south entrance, follow the exhibitor sign on the Monday, and park in the visitors car park on the left-hand side, visitors and staff parking on the left-hand side, sorry, volunteers and staff parking on the left-hand side before you enter the main paddock area. When you do get there, be it Sunday or the Monday, please enter via the entrance 3, which is the main entrance in the middle of the wing. It's all numbered 1, 2, 3. Please enter by that way and go up the stairway, where you'll hopefully meet one of us. There'll be a number of us milling around from 4 o'clock on Sunday, and obviously on Monday there'll be a lot more people milling around from 7 o'clock in the morning. I want to quickly orientate you to the layout of the wing and how we've allocated various sections of it. And just to describe this image you see in front of you and orientate you, Mark was talking about the paddock area and where the track cars are going to the south side of the paddock. And we talked about the right-hand side, which is where exhibitors are going, but clear of the entrance way to what is in effect the pit lane garages, which run 1 to 44, I think, 1 being on the left and 44 being up in the right-hand side. There are 3 entrances, 1, 2, and 3, which exhibitors will be using, but please, as volunteers, use entrance 3. It's all signed, big signs on top of the doors. What we've got, and the blue rectangles represent, are the halls and the exhibitors areas. So downstairs in the pit lane garages is what we're calling the automotive hall, running the length of, I think it's garages 2, 3, and 4. Upstairs, we have halls 1, 2, and 3. Handily numbered in the opposite way to which the garages are numbered, but hall 1 in the right hand side, hall 2 in the middle, and hall 3 on the left. And above each of them is what we call a mezzanine area. Mezzanine 1 above hall 1, mezzanine 2 above hall 2, mezzanine 3 above hall 3. Bits of orientation, the dotted arrow you can see, it represents the bridge. I couldn't find a bridge symbol, so I made an arrow instead. That's where all our attendees will arrive from. So they will park on the Hilton Hotel side of Silverstone in car park 50. They'll be ushered and signposted across the bridge, have that wonderful experience of walking over the track and then down into the reception area. A couple of points to note: where the asterisk is on the map, that is in the middle of what are the International Media Centre briefing rooms, 2 and 3, which is where we had the briefings last year for the attendees, exactly where the attendee briefing is happening this year. To the right of that, beyond the room 4, is the media cafe. The reason why I point that out is because that is our home. That is the volunteers and staff home, where you'll get refreshments, where you get teas and coffees, and where indeed within the bounds of Silverstone you can leave your possessions, but you have to leave them at your own risk. But it will be staffed by volunteers and staff throughout the day who will be serving teas and coffees. And we'll come back to how we identify volunteers and staff and try and keep that as safe and secure as possible. But that's our area where, if you just need a time out and you put your feet up for half an hour, grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab some lunch at lunchtime in the media cafe, which is where we'll all base ourselves. That's a bit of orientation. What I'd like to do is just talk you through a description of what's in each hall and who is in each hall. Go back to what Mark said. A number of you will be allocated to support each of the halls, and you'll be working with either a member of staff or a volunteer that we put in charge of a particular area or activity. So I think it's useful to identify now who that might be. And Mark will confirm tomorrow or the next day what it is we're asking you to do, with the caveat is that it may well change because plans, believe it or not, are ever evolving, ever changing, and fairly fast moving. So let's start with the automotive hall, which are the pit lanes on the ground floor in the paddock area, pit lane or garages 2, 3, and 4. And this is where you will find this chap here. Many of us know him. Steve Lee. He's been with the charity for, I think, 5 or 6 years. He heads up Mission Automotive, embedded with Jaguar Land Rover. What he doesn't know about the automotive industry and the automotive sector and Jaguar Land Rover is not worth knowing. He is coordinating the layouts, he's coordinating the exhibitors, and he'll have a team of Jaguar Land Rover volunteers and a number of our volunteers supporting him in what is quite an extensive display of the automotive industry. In the automotive hall, I can't remember the number of exhibitors we've got, but it includes the likes of Caterpillar and John Deere. We've been told to keep them separate because apparently they're rivals, and their big tractors and equipment need to be kept separate, but will take up a sizable chunk of the floor space. We have Amazon, we have Tesla, we have Stellantis, we have Motorsport UK, we have Jaguar Land Rover, we have Lotus. We've also spread out the service charities this year because some of the feedback from last year by grouping them all together was that they were missing the footfall that were going into other halls. So we've scattered them around in no particular order, really, unless there's a particular reason with the equipment they're bringing. We've scattered them around appropriately the hall. So down in the automotive hall, you'll find the likes of Walking with the Wounded and Fighting with Pride. You'll also find down the Automotive Hall Stellantis. They've got a huge footprint down there as one of our sponsors, and they're bringing back the electric vehicle ride and drive experiences for attendees as well. They've got thousands of career opportunities, and they're looking again to uplift their headcount along with the likes of Jaguar Land Rover, Bentley and Lotus, who are doing likewise. And I think down in the Automotive Hall, we've got things like tractors and big dumper trucks and DAF trucks as well. So again, a huge display. In the Automotive Hall as well, Mark's mentioned the tasks of passenger rides and pit lanes and passenger loading, passenger unloading. Roughly where those you see the arrows on that slide is roughly where passenger loading will happen out towards the track, and passenger unloading will happen obviously back off the track. And I'll talk a little bit about the passenger ride process in a second. At the far right hand side of the Automotive Hall is where we're having the special guest VIP rides. I hesitate to call it VIP because the very important people attending the National Transition event are the veterans and service leavers and not necessarily the dignitaries or the likes of the MPs. But the reason why we separate them out is because at the far right hand side, we've gathered a number of military track cars from, I think, the Army and the RAF. I don't think the Navy, are the Navy coming? No, the Navy aren't making a show, but the Army and the RAF, and we've got a couple of specialist cars from Jaguar Land Rover. We put serving personnel in there as drivers, as experienced race drivers, and we can put someone like Johnny Mercer or the CEO of AWE in side by side as a passenger and talking to a service person about their experience. And it's quite powerful because of the impression they get. It's better putting the likes of those people in with a service person driving a track car than it is putting them in with a banker who happens to own a really expensive and really nice Porsche and just getting a passenger lap around the track. That's the reason why we separate them out. It also means that there's no clash of priority people, which is the beneficiaries we want to give them passenger rides to in something really, really special as well. The passenger ride process this time is that the track rides are only for attendees, and that is the veterans and service leavers and members of the armed forces community. There was a bit of tension last year with exhibitors expecting, wanting, in some cases demanding passenger rides. That's not why we do it. The reason why we ask drivers to come along and give passenger rides is to give passenger rides to veterans and service leavers and members of the armed forces community. So we are providing a bit of tighter control on that. People, when they register, they register online. They will check in at the registration desk when they arrive at the event, and they'll be given a wristband to show that they have checked in for the event. Every attendee will then be asked to attend the attendee presentation, which will happen in one of the IMC halls. And after that, they will be given a passenger ride wristband as they depart that briefing room. And that is their say-so that they've attended the attendee brief, at which they'll also get a bit of a safety brief about the do's and don'ts of passenger rides. When they turn up at registration for the event, along with their attendance wristband, they will also get 2 tokens. A white one and a black one, and that entitles them to 2 passenger rides. The reason why we distinguish the 2 colours is to give priority to those who've got a white token, so that we can ensure everyone gets at least 1 passenger ride throughout the day, and take priority over someone who only holds a single token, which is a black one. Thereafter, we will manage it accordingly to the queues. So there's an element of control for attendees. There's an element of checking of wristbands, and the same will apply to VIPs. Slightly separate process, but we can brief that on the day to those people who are manning the guest dignitary VIP rides at the far end. As I say again, those people who get passenger rides and go through that process are only members of the armed forces community who've gone through the attendee presentation, who've got the right tokens, who've got the right wristband, and that is only right and proper to support them, and also the expectation of our drivers. Okay, turning now to the mezzanine hall 1. That's where, sorry, hall 1 first, and then we'll talk about the mezzanine hall 1. That's what we're calling our family zone and our businesses in industry. And that's where you will find one of our Armed Forces engagement lead, Sarah Walker, who works under the banner of Mission Community. And within hall 1, you will find the likes of the Army Benevolent Fund, the Poppy Factory, Scottish Little Soldiers, Forces Pension Society, But you also find British Airways, CGI, Cloudera, SSGC, Deloitte, and PwC. So a wide range of businesses and organisations, both supporting our families, but also looking at opportunities to employ veterans. Up in the mezzanine area of Hall 1 is what we're terming the Military and Business Village. And that is an area that's going to be hosted by the Ex-Forces Enterprise into Business. That's an organisation that supports veterans who have set up their own businesses. Some really quite fascinating startups and businesses, small businesses. I think over 20 veterans owned and run businesses, some of whom are actually looking to employ other veterans. Up there on the mezzanine of Hall 1, you'll also find another collection of charities, including the likes of the RBLI, of SAFA, and indeed Op Courage. Looking to Hall 2, we're labelling Mission Renewable, one of our sector and more mature sector initiatives. And in Hall 2, the manager of Hall 2 is this chap, Duncan Ford, who again is one of our Armed Forces Engagement Lead, former RAF Wing Commander, who's been doing some great business with the renewable sector, working with the likes of Renewable UK, RWE, and other organisations to really drive that sector initiative. And I think we've got something like 30 industries from the renewable energy industry on display within Hall 2. On the mezzanine area, similar to what we had last year, we've got LinkedIn and Severn Trent, and we've also allocated part of the mezzanine of Hall 2 as a bit of a quiet zone. We'll have a couple of bean bags up there just in case people just need to take time out. There's no refreshments on mezzanine Hall 2. There are refreshments down in the catering area provided by Silverstone in Hall 2 and Hall 3. But it's a quiet area just in case people need a bit of chill time. And we'll talk about that perhaps on Sunday and Monday in terms of what to do if you see someone struggling and where to direct them. I won't say it here, but we've got a really special announcement. We're just biding our time to make about LinkedIn and what they're offering on the day, but I'll keep that powder dry because I'm embargoed and can't say anything. But that's a really special announcement for our Armed Forces community. Hall 3, as you can see there, replicated by the blue triangle, right in the middle of the building is what we're calling our main stage and keynote area. We haven't got an individual keynote speaker. I'll talk through the timetable in a second. We've got a really exciting panel on at lunchtime, which everyone's encouraged to attend, including you folk as well, because lunchtime is when we stop the track activity. Things quieten down for a little bit, deliberately, so we can get as many people to that keynote panel, I suppose is the best way to phrase it, at lunchtime. And you'll see the blue circle above, which replicates Hall 3 mezzanine. I point that out because that's where all the registration happens for attendees. And that's where Motorsport UK will have their simulators. And that's where we will, with your help, have a help desk staffed throughout the day. As the event matures from morning through to lunchtime in the afternoon, we may be able to scale down the registration desk, but we'll obviously have to scale it up first thing in the morning when we're expecting the bulk of attendees to arrive. But we can then reduce that and allow other people, the volunteers who have helped, to perhaps have a walk around or do other tasks later on in the day. But we will continue to man a help desk and direct people to that help desk if they've got any specific questions or asks. Let me just talk about the timetable, and these next couple of slides just give you a feel for the timetable of things that are happening throughout the day on Monday. Obviously, all this could change, but that's pretty much as it stands right now. And I'll point out a couple of things. Our headline sponsor, AWE, will be on the main stage at 11 o'clock with a bit of a presentation, a bit of a brief. We have Johnny Mercer, fingers crossed, still coming at lunchtime to talk about why he believes UK is the best place to be a veteran. And then we have a panel which will include Johnny Mercer and a couple of key speakers talk about collaboration, innovation and growth. And you can see there we have a speaking part by the US team coming across to talk about the US perspective about veterans. That's all in Hall 3, which is the main stage where the keynote is happening. Hall 2, there's a small stage, well, relatively small stage, still quite big, in the Renewable Hall. and you can see some of the key things that are happening there. Not necessarily presentations, some activities. There's a couple of really interesting things towards the latter part of the event. Family engagement, what family support is available from Nikki Peterson, who's head of the Army Hive, and Orsted are doing a really good seminar on women into wind by Colleen Ford. So again, some really good stuff we've got laid on in Hall 2. Quick summary of other places, a couple of things that are happening. I mentioned already the Gold Award Association meeting, which is an invite-only meeting for those Gold Award holders, happening just before lunch. There's a couple of other things being discussed, sustainability discussion and Global Charge, which is an initiative to bring the world together, led by GOC OneDiv. I think last year was the first year that happened. So a bit of a planning, bit of discussion around that. And we've got a couple of Armed Forces Covenant signings happening throughout the day. Of note, in particular, Motorsport UK, who through our support and engagement with them, have embraced the Armed Forces engagement programme and are signing their covenant on Mezzanine 3, which is where their simulators will be and where our registration desk will be. A bit about other activities that are happening in the margins. Mark's already mentioned about fundraising. We've got an exciting new fundraising team with Jill and Charlotte, who are leading the charge. Every opportunity is an opportunity to raise funds for the charity, and we would really love your support in helping raise as much income on the National Transition event. Indeed, have a go as well if you wish. We laid on one of these events last year and it was a success. Podium tours. We've got privileged and special access to the Formula One Grand Prix podium, which is, I think, on the left-hand edge of the building. We'll be doing guided tours and asking for donations for people to go along in groups of 5 or 6, and you can see the timings there. And we will probably need a couple of volunteers to help out with that. That can be really quite fun, and we've got some gimmicks to add to the photo opportunities for people to take their selfies. We've got a Donate Guest Win event happening. I should have pointed out the Mission Motorsport fundraising and merch stand will be in the middle of Hall 2, deliberately so we've got maximum footprint around it. And at that stand, believe it or not, we are going to have an Aston Martin DB5 junior scaled from the Little Car Company on loan. So if you are running that stand, please keep an eye out for that car, because it's worth an absolute fortune. And we don't want to take it back in any shape or form, damaged or scratched. The Little Car Company do some fantastic work with us. They've chosen us as their charity of the year, and they have loaned us the Aston Martin DB5 Junior. We won't be doing anything with it other than putting it on display, but also be asking people to guess the weight of the car. Not as simple as that, because I know you can Google the weight of the car. There's going to be a couple of surprises in there to make it slightly more difficult for people to guess the weight and get it correct. That's a competition we'll be running throughout the day. We also have, and I think we've announced on social media, from Lotus, correct me if I get the announcement wrong, Mark, Lotus Evija.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. £2 million worth of car, 2,000 brake horsepower, an opportunity for anyone, you included if you want to win a passenger ride in this really special car. I think there's only one of 30 made in the UK or around the world, and we've got one coming to the National Transition event. It will be on display, I think, in Hall 1 throughout the morning. We'll be selling tickets off to be part of the raffle, and we'll be drawing 5 tickets out the hat. 5 individuals, because we're not allowing people to win 5 times unless they put a whole chunk of money in. No, but we will be drawing 5 individuals out to have that really special ride, passenger laps in the Lotus Evija. And that will happen just after lunch, just after the keynote panel. So again, we will be asking for a couple of volunteers to help both advertise that and sell tickets, but that is something special. And even I, as a non-petrol head, can understand how special that is. So that's a quick orientation of the halls. Quick reminder, we've got the automotive hall on the ground floor, running along entrance 1 and 2. We've got entrance 3, which is the main entrance, where I encourage you all to focus when you arrive on Sunday and indeed on Monday. The garage you see, block 1, is where all the track cars will be garaged up and parked up. And above that, on level 1, you've got halls 1, 2, 3, right to left. and also they're supporting mezzanines, mezzanine hall 1, 2 and 3. And I've already pointed out where IMC 1, 2, 3 and 4 will be, and the media cafe and the entrance from across the bridge. Mark, do you want to just talk through a bit about where to get help and other bits and pieces? Or
yes, please. So all staff and volunteers will be clearly identified by coloured lanyards and ID badges. So for the volunteers, you guys will have bright orange lanyards, and all members of staff will have black lanyards with staff written on them. We've got an information desk at registration, which is on the mezzanine of Hall 3. Once registration starts to close down, that information desk will then move down to the Mission Motorsport merch stand. We've got some quiet areas. We've got one in Hall 2 on the mezzanine and in IMC 4, which is next door to where we'll be, to the media cafe. For anybody that might need just to step away from the hustle and bustle of the event. We've also got Up Courage on the mezzanine of Hall 1. If you do come across an attendee that is struggling a little bit, please always inform a member of staff. Andy, I'm going to need you to help me with the emergency evacuation point.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll confirm this on the day, but in essence, we are the behest of Silverstone staff in the event of a crisis. But you and us, as in the volunteers and the staff, all have a part to play in terms of if we need to evacuate the building, you know where the evacuation points are, because it will be entrances and exits of 1, 2 and 3. And we'll confirm the muster point, which is like to be on the paddock side, unless the crisis is happening in the paddock, in terms of gathering people to wait the emergency services. But we all have a part to play in terms of looking out for each other. We all have a part to play in terms of security, and we all have a part to play in terms of what I would call safeguarding issues and concerns. I will remind people on the Sunday and the Monday, if there are any issues that are brought to your attention, or indeed you see anything that concerns you, please raise it with a member of staff who will be identifiable by a black lanyard and their name badge and ID. Or alternatively, we'll throw up numbers for myself, Laura and Mark at the end of this presentation. Just contact us on the day via WhatsApp message or phone call. I'd rather people raise it than take the challenges home. But we'll confirm all those details there and then on the Sunday and the Monday, just in case there's any fire practices that are programmed. I hopefully think not, but in terms of what the drills are, and exactly point out where the muster points are.
Some more information for you. On Sunday, anyone that's arriving, if we could please have you ready to go by the main entrance at 4 p.m. I'm unsure if they'll let you in before then, but if they do, please head to the wing. I really can't see us being there any later than 8 p.m. I can't think of any reason why setup will take that long, but I certainly wouldn't expect any of you guys to stay past 8 p.m. Bring some snacks with you. If we can wangle a pizza delivery, we will do. Silverstone are currently a little bit funny about bringing food in, but if we can make it work, we will do. We'll have some pizzas in the paddock out the back of the van. But worst case, please do bring something with you just in case. On Monday, if you could all please be queued up, ready to go as soon as they open the gate at 7 a.m. That would be absolutely fantastic. We need to get you in and registered prior to the volunteer brief at 7:10. After that, we aim to get you straight on task, ready for 7:30. The attendees have been asked to come from 8 a.m. However, they always come early. There will be people there from 7:30. I imagine the troops will be through by 1 p.m. There may be a couple of people after that, but the main bulk will be from 7:30 to 12:30. We just need to be ready for that. The keynote and the track break from 1 till 2 p.m. Bit of a lunch break there. The marshals can step away and get their lunch, and it allows the attendees, the exhibitors and the volunteers to attend the keynote speeches. The main event itself will come to a close at 5 p.m. As soon as 5 p.m.'s hit, we can then start packing everything down. I'd like to think that any of you that can we had to stay behind. I don't think we're going to be there any later than 6:30. An hour and a half to pack everything away should be just fine. Regarding clothing, if you have any Mission Motorsported branded gear, please wear it. I would encourage that. That would be brilliant. If you don't have anything, we've got some merchandise available, but also anything sort of smart casual would be absolutely fine depending on your role. If you're in the pit lane, I wouldn't recommend you wear your best shoes and trousers, just in case. The pit lane gets very cold on a cold day. Silverstone is built on an old airfield. The automotive hall, the car park and the paddock are also exposed to the elements. So please do bring some warm kit with you. Inside is much better, but there is a chance we might need to switch your role during the day. So please do be prepared for all weathers. We'll have hot teas and coffees and squash available all day in the media cafe for you guys. We've also provided your lunch. There's also catering in Hall 2 and Hall 3. And should our coffee not be good enough for you, we've also got combat to coffee in the automotive hall. If you have any allergies, please do email me and let me know today or tomorrow. Please though, only allergies. I'm not taking requests for, I prefer chicken over beef. So just allergies, please. Sadly, on this occasion, we cannot provide breakfast on the Monday morning. I'm really sorry. I wish we could, but unfortunately we can't. Some health and safety bits. Please, there should be no need for any heavy lifting, but please don't do any of that unless you're shown how to do so. Please be careful near any moving vehicles. If you're in the pit lane or the paddock, you'll need to wear a high-vis vest. This will be provided for you. And when you come to leave the event and your volunteering time has come to an end, please book out via the Mission Motorsport stand, the merchandise stand when you're going, just so we know that you're not here anymore and we're not sending anybody into a burning building to look for you, for example. Any medical issues, we will have a first aid kit for any minor injuries. Anything a bit more serious, we'll hand you over to Silverstone, and we've also got the use of the emergency services should we need to. Please do make a member of staff aware, though, should there be an injury. Should you need to get hold of anybody after this event, after this slide, we'll go through some phone numbers for Andy, Laura, and myself. You'll each be appointed a team leader. So first point of call will be to let your team leader know of anything that they need to be aware of, and then they can always escalate that to a member of staff should they need to. If you were to come across a safeguarding issue, please do report that to a member of staff. When you have your volunteer brief, either on the Sunday or the Monday, Andy will go into further detail, but please, it's ever so important that you do let a member of staff know. People are going to flock to you because you've got your orange lanyard that says volunteer. If you're struggling to answer any question, either direct them to the help desk or seek a member of staff who should be able to help you. It would be massively appreciated if any of you could stay behind from 5 p.m. to help with the pack down. I can't see it taking any more than an hour and a half to get everything packed away and ready to go. If you could do that, it'd be much appreciated. After this webinar, either tonight or tomorrow, I will email you all. I'll email you the volunteer registration, which has got the indemnity included. I will issue you a car pass in that email, which you'll need to have filled out, ready to go on arrival. And I will also brief you all on your tasks and the details for the day. And that will all be accompanied with a recording of the webinar.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark, ever so much. There's a lot of detail in there. It's all in the recording. And as Mark said, those are our contact numbers. Should you have any questions, you should have our emails. If not, volunteering@missionmotorsport.org is always the good email to get any of us on. We man that between the three of us. But please make a note of the telephone numbers there if you need to text us or WhatsApp us or message us or call us at any stage between now and the day, or indeed on the day. I'm hoping that's been useful. We'll just open the door for any questions in a second. So please have a think. If there's nothing, sorry, if there's anything we haven't covered or any questions you've got, anything we have covered, please just put it in the chat and we'll get round to answering either tonight, or if not, we'll come back to you with an answer. But in sum, fantastic opportunity for us, and I include you guys in this, for us as an organisation with our wonderful volunteers. A fantastic opportunity for the Armed Forces community, fantastic opportunity for all those who want to lean in and support the Armed Forces community in their transition into civilian life, and indeed in civilian life beyond their military service. We can't do this kind of event without you. The scale is just impossible for 16, 17 of us. And as you see, we've got, I think, 115 volunteers who have signed up to support us, which is amazing, but absolutely essential. As you can see from all the tasks that Mark's gone through, all the layout, there's a lot to be done on the day, and a lot of help and support for which we're hugely grateful. So in essence, if you can turn up on Sunday, that's amazing, because we've got a lot to do. We've got a lot of things to put up. We've got to turn the wing into something fantastic for those of us who were there last year, transform it into something amazing. If you can help on Sunday, that will be really grateful. If you get there on Sunday, go in through the main entrance, not the south. Do not follow the AA signs. Come in through the main entrance at Silverstone and make your way towards the wing. Not before 4 o'clock, because we're not allowed in before 4 o'clock. If you can't get there on Sunday, you're going to get there on Monday. Please get there before 7 o'clock. A number of people who will be there on Sunday will be already on task before 7 o'clock, because we need to have people like car parking in place in the paddock area, registration set up. But get there at 7 o'clock. We'll kick off with a volunteers brief to get everyone on the same page. If you've been there Sunday, we'll get you registered and briefed so you can get onto task. If not, we'll get you registered and briefed on Monday to get you on task for 7:30. Runs throughout the day with the teams, and break for lunch, and then we go again in the afternoon. Lots to be done, and what we'll try and do with Mark's help is sort of rotate you through and make sure you have the opportunity to experience the National Transition event, as well as helping delivering the achieved aims. And hopefully wrapped up by 5 o'clock, takedown by 6:30. So if you can hang around afterwards, again, grateful and huge help it will be. The more the merrier. Light hands, and many hands make light work. That's it. What we'll commit to send you after this is a copy of this recording once I've stopped yabbering on, so you can listen to your heart's content, or indeed just flick through and get the right information if you couldn't remember what was what or where was what. But again, fire us any questions. We'll send you the volunteer registration, because we all need you to sign on and sign the indemnity, and that gets ahead of the game. So please complete that before you rock up on Sunday or Monday. It just saves a lot of time. We can just zap you in, know you're there, and account for you. So please. And Mark will be on your case for the next 3 days to make sure, because we can see who you are if you haven't completed it. But please complete that before you set off at the weekend. We will issue you a lanyard we'll issue you a lanyard on the day with the information we'll send out tonight, and tomorrow it will be a copy of the recording, indemnity, and indeed a car pass. So whenever you arrive, please have that car pass displayed in your windscreen, so people know where to direct you. We end up getting you in the right place, and there's an opportunity to fill out your contact details just in case you park in the wrong place, just that we're aware whose car is what. So that's the information you get beforehand. On the day, you'll get checked in, you'll get a volunteer brief, which will give you a bit more up-to-date information of the event and what's on and what to do and what your task is. We'll confirm your task on the day, subject to any last-minute changes, and we'll get you on task. I think that's where I will shut up. Do we have any questions, Mark?
Nothing that hasn't been answered.
No, there's a lot to talk about cakes. I'm sorry. More than welcome to bring cakes. We always accept cakes and bribery in form of baking, so don't let that put you off. But unfortunately, we are under a bit of tight control from Silverstone in terms of catering. So we've managed to get lunch through and under the radar, but we couldn't get anything else through. So lunch will be provided for all volunteers and staff in the media cafe. Brews will be provided there. We might sneak in some snacks. So if you're bringing cakes along, please feel free to bring cakes along. All contributions more than welcome. Debbie, I know you're on the call. Do I need a pass even with a blue badge? Yes, please, just because of the event. But I think that's Binsey. If you can display the blue pass, it's for us really rather than for Silverstone, just to make sure we're parking the right place. But if you've got a blue badge as well, display that, because we will be able to park our volunteers in the segregated area. Segregated, that's the wrong word. In the cordoned off area, which is in front of the main building inside the paddock. So that'd be really helpful. But we will at least know that you're part of the volunteer and you've got a blue badge. So that'd be useful. Any other questions? Has anything come in? Still
That's
talk
it.
about cakes.
That's it. I think we're done. Thank you ever so much. Massively appreciated. And like Andy said, we just couldn't do this without your help. So it is massively appreciated. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Have a good evening. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday and Monday. Any questions, far away, but otherwise stay safe and we'll see you shortly.